The neon sign of Starlight Diner flickered against the darkening sky as Mia pushed open the glass door, the familiar chime announcing her arrival. The smell of coffee and grilled cheese sandwiches wafted through the air, a comforting constant in her small town of Willowbrook. Mia slid into her usual booth, her backpack thudding against the worn leather seat. She pulled out her sketchbook, filled with doodles of fantastical creatures and faraway planets. At 13, Mia's imagination knew no bounds, even if her world seemed confined to this quiet corner of rural America. The usual "sweet-out" came the friendly voice of Dottie, the aging waitress who had known Mia since she was in diapers. "Yes, please," Mia smiled, already flipping to a fresh page in her book. As Dottie shuffled away, the bell chimed again. Mia glanced up, her curiosity piqued by the newcomer. He was tall, unnaturally so, and wore a long coat that seemed to shimmer slightly in the diner's fluorescent lighting. But it was his face that caught Mia's attention, or rather, the lack of it. Where features should have been, there was only a smooth, silvery surface that reflected the world around it like a mirror. The stranger settled into a booth across from Mia, his movements fluid yet somehow uncertain, as if he wasn't quite sure how to sit properly. Mia found herself staring, her half-formed sketch forgotten. Dottie approached the newcomer, her usual cheerful demeanor faltering slightly. "What can I get for you, sir?" The stranger's head tilted, the motion almost bird-like. When he spoke, his voice was a soft whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I observe, for now." Dottie nodded, clearly unsure how to respond, and hurried back to the kitchen. Mia, however, felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly the kind of extraordinary thing she'd always dreamed of encountering. Gathering her courage, Mia slid out of her booth and approached the stranger. "Hi," she said, her voice only trembling slightly. "I'm Mia. Are you from around here?" The featureless face turned towards her, and Mia had the strange sensation of looking into a mirror that showed not her reflection, but the vastness of space itself. "I am not," the stranger replied, his whisper voice tinged with what might have been amusement. "I am from very far away." Mia's eyes widened. "Are you an alien?" she asked, unable to contain her excitement. There was a moment of silence, and then the stranger's form seemed to ripple, like the surface of a pond disturbed by a pebble. Slowly, the reflective surface of his face melted away, revealing features that were almost human, yet undeniably alien. His skin was a pale lavender, his eyes large and entirely silver, without pupils or irises. When he smiled, Mia saw teeth that looked like polished opals. "I am," he said, his voice now clearer, with a musical quality that made Mia think of wind chimes. "My name is Zephyr, though that is merely the closest approximation your language can manage." Mia grinned, barely able to contain her excitement. "That's so cool. What are you doing here? Are you exploring Earth? Do you have a spaceship?" Zephyr's silver eyes seemed to twinkle with amusement. "So many questions, young one." "I am observing, learning. Your world is very different from my own." Mia pulled out her sketchbook. "Can I draw you?" "I've always imagined what aliens might look like, but I never thought I'd actually meet one." Zephyr nodded, his movements graceful and fluid. "You may. But tell me, Mia, are you not afraid? Most beings react with fear when encountering the unknown." Mia shrugged, already sketching Zephyr's unique features. "Why should I be afraid? You seem nice. And besides, I've always known there had to be more out there than just us. The universe is too big for Earth to be the only place with life." As Mia drew, Zephyr watched her with curious eyes. "You are wise beyond your years, Mia. Many adults on your world lack such open-mindedness." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, Mia sketching and occasionally asking questions about Zephyr's homeworld, which he answered with patient amusement. She learned that his planet was called Other, a gas giant with floating cities held aloft by technology beyond human comprehension. As the sky outside grew darker, Mia realized how much time had passed. I should probably go home soon, she said reluctantly. Will you be here tomorrow? I have so many more questions. Zephyr's expression turned thoughtful. I had not planned to stay, but perhaps, yes, I believe I will return tomorrow. Mia beamed, gathering her things. Great, I'll see you then, Zephyr. As she headed for the door, Zephyr called out, Mia. She turned back. Thank you, he said softly. It has been a very long time since I've had a friend. Mia's heart swelled with a mix of excitement and something deeper, a sense that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. As she stepped out into the cool night air, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, as if welcoming her into a vast cosmic secret. Little did Mia know that her new alien friend was far more than a simple observer. Zephyr's true identity and the galactic implications of their chance encounter would soon reshape not only her life, but the fate of Earth itself. The next day, Mia could hardly contain her excitement as she rushed through her classes. When the final bell rang, she bolted from school, her feet carrying her swiftly to the Starlight Diner. As she burst through the door, her eyes immediately sought out the booth where she had met Zephyr. To her relief and delight, he was there, his lavender skin and silvery eyes unmistakable. Today, he wore what looked like a shimmering tunic that seemed to change color as he moved. A few other patrons cast curious glances his way, but most seemed to be deliberately avoiding looking at him. Zephyr, Mia called out, sliding into the booth across from him. You came back. The alien's lips curved into a gentle smile. I gave you my word, did I not? And I find myself intrigued by your world and by you, young Mia. Mia pulled out her sketchbook, flipping to a fresh page. I have so many more questions. Can you tell me about your home? What's it like living in a floating city? Zephyr's eyes seemed to grow distant, a flicker of something. Was it sadness? Crossing his face. Was a world of wonders. Imagine cities of crystal and light, drifting through skies painted with auroras that never fade. Our technology allowed us to harness the very essence of our gaseous world, creating miracles that would seem like magic to your people. As he spoke, Mia's pencil flew across the page, trying to capture the images his words conjured. That sounds amazing, she breathed. But wait, you said was. Did something happen to Arthur? Zephyr fell silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on some point far beyond the diner's walls. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with an emotion Mia couldn't quite place. Arthur still exists, but it is changed. The floating cities are empty now, mere echoes of their former glory. Mia's brow furrowed with concern. What happened? Was there a war or something? Or something, Zephyr murmured. He seemed about to say more when the diner's door chimed. Two men in dark suits entered, their eyes scanning the room with an intensity that made Mia shiver. Zephyr's posture stiffened, his eyes narrowing as he observed the newcomers. Mia, he said softly, urgently, I need you to listen carefully. Those men are not what they appear to be. They are searching for me, and their intentions are not peaceful. Mia's eyes widened, her heart beginning to race. What? Why? Who are they? There is much I haven't told you, Zephyr said, his voice barely above a whisper. I am not merely an observer from another world. I was, the Emperor of Aether and its colonies across 7 star systems. Mia's jaw dropped. You're an emperor? Like, for real? Zephyr nodded grimly. A fallen emperor. My empire crumbled under the weight of its own expansion and the machinations of those who sought to overthrow me. I've been in exile for what you would consider centuries, moving from world to world, staying hidden. The men in suits were moving through the diner now, their gazes sharp and predatory. Zephyr's form shimmered, his alien features melting away to be replaced by the mirrored surface Mia had first seen. We need to leave, he said, his voice once again the ethereal whisper from their first meeting. Now. Mia nodded, her mind reeling from the revelations, but her instincts telling her to trust Zephyr. They slid out of the booth, trying to move casually towards the back of the diner. One of the suited men turned, his eyes locking onto them. "There," he shouted, his voice oddly distorted. "The Etherian." What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The men's faces began to shift, their human features melting away to reveal reptilian snouts and gleaming, multifaceted eyes. Other patrons screamed, scrambling to get away as the creatures lunged forward. Zephyr moved with impossible speed, placing himself between Mia and the attackers. His arm extended, and a pulse of silvery energy erupted from his palm, sending one of the creatures crashing into a row of tables. "Run," Zephyr commanded, grabbing Mia's hand. They burst through the kitchen, startling the cook, and out the back door into the alley behind the diner. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as they raced down the alley, the sounds of pursuit close behind. "Where are we going?" she gasped. "To my ship," Zephyr replied, his voice tight with concentration. "It's hidden on the outskirts of town. Once we're there, we'll be safe." As they ran, Mia's mind whirled with questions. An alien emperor. Hostile creatures disguised as humans. It was like something out of her wildest dreams, or nightmares. But the warmth of Zephyr's hand in hers, the urgency of their flight, was all too real. They turned a corner, and Mia saw a shimmer in the air ahead, like heat rising from pavement on a hot day. As they approached, the shimmer resolved into the sleek form of a spacecraft, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence. "Whoa," Mia breathed, momentarily forgetting their peril. Zephyr placed his hand on the ship's surface, and a door materialized, sliding open with a soft hiss. "Quickly," he urged, ushering Mia inside. As the door closed behind them, Mia found herself in a cockpit that seemed to be made of living crystal, pulsing with soft light. Zephyr moved to what must have been the pilot's seat, his hands dancing over controls that appeared and disappeared at his touch. "Strap in," he instructed, and a harness formed around Mia, securing her to a seat that seemed to mold itself to her body. Through the ship's transparent hull, Mia saw the reptilian creatures emerge into the clearing, their faces contorted with rage. But it was too late. With a surge of power that Mia felt in her very bones, the ship rose into the air, the ground falling away beneath them. As they soared into the darkening sky, leaving Willowbrook and all Mia had ever known behind, she turned to Zephyr, her voice small but steady. "What happens now?" Zephyr's silver eyes met hers, filled with a mix of regret and determination. "Now, young Mia, we embark on an adventure beyond anything you've imagined, and I fear the fate of not just your world, but the entire galaxy may rest in our hands." As the stars grew brighter around them, Mia realized that her life would never be the same again. The sketches in her book, the dreams of cosmic wonders, were about to become her new reality, for better or for worse. As Zephyr's ship soared through the inky blackness of space, Mia pressed her face against the crystalline viewport, her eyes wide with wonder. Earth had shrunk to a blue marble behind them, and the vastness of the cosmos stretched out in all directions. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her breath fogging the transparent surface. Zephyr nodded, his silver eyes reflecting the starlight. "Indeed, but beauty often hides danger, especially in the depths of space." Mia turned to him, her initial awe giving way to the gravity of their situation. "Zephyr, who were those things back there? And why are they after you?" The alien emperor's form shimmered, his posture slumping slightly as if under an invisible weight. "They are called the Vex, a race of shapeshifters who once served as spies and assassins for my empire. When Ether fell, they saw an opportunity to seize power for themselves." Mia's brow furrowed. "But why come to Earth? Why now?" "I fear it's not just about me anymore," Zephyr said, his voice heavy. "The Vex have always been ambitious. With the power vacuum left by my empire's collapse, they seek to expand their influence. Earth, with its rich resources and strategic position in the galaxy, would be a valuable conquest." A chill ran down Mia's spine. "Are you saying they want to invade Earth?" Before Zephyr could answer, a series of sharp beeps emanated from the ship's control panel. His hands danced over the holographic displays, his expression growing grim. "It's worse than I feared," he muttered. "The Vex fleet is already mobilizing. They must have been planning this for some time, waiting for the right moment to strike." Mia's heart raced. "What can we do? We have to warn people." Zephyr shook his head. "Your world's governments would never believe us in time. And even if they did, Earth's technology is no match for the Vex Armada." "Then what?" Mia asked, frustration and fear coloring her voice. Zephyr's eyes met hers, a spark of determination igniting in their silvery depths. "There might be a way, but it's dangerous and I cannot ask you to." "I'm already here," Mia interrupted, squaring her shoulders. "Whatever it is, I want to help." A small smile tugged at Zephyr's lips. "Your courage does your species credit, young Mia. Very well. We need to retrieve an artifact, the Cosmic Keystone. It's a relic from my empire, capable of controlling vast networks of wormholes. With it, we could bring reinforcements from distant corners of the galaxy, allies who still remember their loyalty to Uther." "Where is this keystone?" Mia asked. "Hidden," Zephyr replied, "on a planet called Nexus, a world of perpetual twilight and ancient ruins. It's where I concealed many of the Empire's most powerful secrets when I fled into exile." As Zephyr spoke, he manipulated the ship's controls. The stars outside blurred, and Mia felt a strange twisting sensation in her stomach. When the view cleared, a planet loomed before them, a sphere of deep purples and blues, wreathed in gossamer rings. "Nexus," Zephyr announced. "But we must hurry. The Vex will not be far behind." They descended through wisps of iridescent clouds, the ship's hull humming as it cut through the alien atmosphere. As they broke through the cloud cover, Mia gasped. Below them stretched a landscape of towering crystal spires and sweeping arches, all bathed in the soft glow of 3 moons hanging low on the horizon. Zephyr guided the ship towards a massive structure that seemed to be half building, half mountain. As they drew closer, Mia could see intricate patterns etched into its surface, glowing with a faint, pulsing light. "The Vault of Echoes," Zephyr explained as they landed. "The keystone is hidden within." As they disembarked, Mia felt the airiness of the world around her. The air was thick and sweet, the gravity just slightly off. Zephyr led her towards an entrance that seemed to shimmer into existence as they approached. "Stay close," he warned. "The vault's defenses are unpredictable." They entered a vast chamber, its walls lined with what looked like liquid metal, constantly shifting and flowing. In the center stood a pedestal, atop which hovered a small octahedral crystal that pulsed with inner light. "The Cosmic Keystone," Zephyr breathed, reaching out towards it. But before his fingers could touch the artifact, a bone-chilling screech filled the air. Mia whirled to see 3 Vex warriors materialize at the chamber's entrance, their reptilian faces twisted in snarls of triumph. "Step away from the keystone, fallen Emperor," the lead Vex hissed. "Your time is over. The age of the Vex has begun." Zephyr's form rippled, his regal bearing returning in full force. "You forget yourselves," he said, his voice resonating with power. "I may be in exile, but I am still the Emperor of Aether." With a gesture, bolts of silvery energy erupted from Zephyr's hands, slamming into 2 of the Vex and sending them crashing into the walls. But the leader was faster, dodging the attack and lunging forward with inhuman speed. Mia, acting on instinct, grabbed the keystone from its pedestal. The moment her fingers touched it, a surge of energy coursed through her body. The world around her seemed to slow, and she could see trails of possibility stretching out from every object and being in the room. Without fully understanding how, Mia focused on the attacking Vex. A pulse of energy erupted from the keystone, and a small wormhole opened directly in the creature's path. Unable to stop its momentum, the Vex tumbled through, vanishing with a startled shriek. Zephyr stared at Mia in astonishment. "How did you?" But there was no time for explanations. More Vex were pouring into the chamber, their weapons charged and ready. "We need to go," Mia shouted, the keystone still pulsing in her grasp. Zephyr nodded, reaching out to take her hand. As their fingers intertwined, Mia felt another surge of power. The keystone glowed brightly, and suddenly the world around them dissolved into a swirling vortex of light and color. When reality solidified again, they were back on Zephyr's ship, streaking away from Nexus at impossible speeds. Mia slumped into a seat, her head spinning. What just happened? Zephyr's eyes were wide with a mixture of awe and concern. "You used the keystone, Mia. Instinctively, perfectly. It's unprecedented. No human should have been able to do that." As the implications of what had just occurred began to sink in, alarms blared throughout the ship. On the view screen, a massive fleet of Vex warships dropped out of warp, their weapons primed and locked onto Earth. Zephyr's expression hardened. "It seems our enemy has forced our hand. Are you ready, Mia? To use the keystone again, to call for help across the stars?" Mia looked down at the artifact in her hands, feeling its power thrumming through her. She thought of her home, of Earth hanging vulnerable in the void, and of the billions of lives now depending on her and Zephyr. With a deep breath, she met the alien Emperor's gaze and nodded. "I'm ready. Let's save Earth." As Mia closed her eyes and focused on the keystone, she knew that the real battle, for Earth, for the galaxy, and for her own destiny, was only just beginning. The vast emptiness of space erupted into chaos as the Vex fleet bore down on Earth. Zephyr's ship weaved through a barrage of energy beams, each near miss causing the vessel to shudder violently. "Mia, we need those reinforcements now," Zephyr called out, his hands dancing over the ship's controls with inhuman speed. Mia clutched the cosmic keystone, its pulsing light synchronizing with her rapidly beating heart. She closed her eyes, focusing on the artifact's power flowing through her. In her mind's eye, she saw the vastness of the galaxy, countless stars and worlds spread out before her like a cosmic tapestry. I don't know how to do this," she admitted, her voice trembling. Zephyr's voice was calm despite the dangers surrounding them. "Trust your instincts, Mia. The keystone chose you for a reason. Reach out with your thoughts, find the allies we need." Taking a deep breath, Mia let her consciousness expand. She felt drawn to certain points of light in the galactic expanse, worlds where she sensed a lingering loyalty to Ether, beings who might answer a call for help. With a surge of will, Mia activated the keystone. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Massive wormholes began to open around Earth, swirling vortexes of energy that dwarfed even the Vex fleet. Through these cosmic gateways came ships of all shapes and sizes, sleek crystalline vessels, massive organic-looking cruisers, and swarms of smaller craft that moved with impossible agility. It was an armada as diverse as the galaxy itself, united in their response to the distress call of their former emperor. "It worked," Mia exclaimed, her eyes flying open in amazement. Zephyr's silver eyes were wide with a mixture of pride and astonishment. "You've done more than that, Mia. You've reunited the scattered forces of Ether. This could change everything." But there was no time to celebrate. The Vex, momentarily taken aback by the sudden arrival of reinforcements, quickly regrouped. The space around Earth erupted into a full-scale battle, energy weapons and exotic technologies clashing in a deadly cosmic dance. Zephyr's ship darted through the chaos, narrowly avoiding destruction multiple times. "We need to coordinate our forces," he said, his tone urgent. "There's a command ship at the edge of the system. If we can reach it, we might be able to turn the tide of this battle." As they sped away from Earth, Mia caught glimpses of the conflict through the view screen. Vex ships exploded in brilliant flashes, while Allied vessels performed maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But for every Vex ship destroyed, another seemed to take its place. "There are so many of them," Mia whispered, the enormity of the situation weighing on her. Zephyr nodded grimly. The Vex have had centuries to build their forces. This won't be an easy fight. Suddenly, their ship rocked violently. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as a squadron of Vex fighters closed in on them. "Hold on," Zephyr shouted, throwing the ship into a series of wild evasive maneuvers. Mia clung to her seat, her knuckles white around the keystone. As energy blasts streaked past them, she felt a strange resonance between herself and the artifact. Without fully understanding how, she reached out with her mind, creating a shield of distorted space around their ship. The next volley of Vex weapons fire dissipated harmlessly against this barrier, the energy scattering in impossible directions. Zephyr shot her a look of amazement. "How did you?" "I don't know," Mia admitted. "It's like the keystone is teaching me." Their moment of respite was short-lived. A massive Vex battlecruiser loomed before them, its weapons priming for a shot that would surely vaporize them. In that instant of peril, Mia's connection to the keystone deepened. Time seemed to slow, and she saw not just the physical space around them, but the underlying fabric of reality itself. With a thought, she twisted this cosmic tapestry. A wormhole blossomed into existence directly in their path. Zephyr, trusting Mia's instincts, flew straight into it. They emerged on the other side of the Vex fleet, the battlecruisers shot harmlessly impacting empty space where they had been moments before. "Incredible," Zephyr breathed. "Mia, you're wielding the Keystone's power in ways I've never seen before." Mia managed a shaky smile, exhilarated and terrified in equal measure. "I just hope it's enough." As they approached the Allied command ship, a massive, city-sized vessel that shimmered with an ethereal light, Mia felt a strange sensation. It was as if the keystone was pulling her towards something or someone. "Zephyr," she said hesitantly, I think there's someone on that ship who can help us. Someone important." The alien emperor gave her a curious look but nodded. "Your connection to the keystone has proven true so far. We'll follow your instincts." As their ship docked with the massive command vessel, Mia felt a mix of anticipation and dread. She knew, somehow, that what awaited them would change the course of this conflict, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself. Zephyr placed a comforting hand on her shoulder as they prepared to disembark. "Whatever happens, Mia, know that you've already accomplished the impossible. Earth still stands because of you." Mia nodded, clutching the keystone close. As the airlock cycled open, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. The battle for Earth, and for the future of the galaxy, was far from over. But for the first time since this adventure began, Mia felt a glimmer of hope. With the power of the keystone and the allies they gathered, perhaps they stood a chance after all. Together, the unlikely pair, a young human girl and a deposed alien emperor, stepped into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the heart of this cosmic conflict. As Mia and Zephyr stepped onto the command ship, they were immediately surrounded by a diverse array of alien beings. Some were vaguely humanoid, while others were so strange that Mia's mind struggled to comprehend their forms. All eyes were fixed on Zephyr, a mix of awe, hope, and wariness in their gazes. A tall crystalline being stepped forward, its voice resonating like chimes in a gentle breeze. "Emperor Zephyr, after all these cycles, you have returned to us." Zephyr inclined his head. "Sailor, old friend, it gladdens me to see you still stand with Atha." As the aliens crowded around, eager to greet their long-lost emperor, Mia felt a tug from the keystone. She gently pulled on Zephyr's sleeve. "There's someone else here," she whispered. "Someone important." Zephyr nodded, addressing the gathered aliens. "My friends, we face a grave threat. The Vex seek not just my destruction, but the conquest of Earth and beyond. We must act swiftly." A path cleared through the crowd, and Mia felt her breath catch in her throat. An alien unlike any she had seen before approached. It seemed to be made of living shadow and starlight, its form constantly shifting and flowing. 2 points of bright white light served as eyes, focused intently on Mia and the keystone she held. "So," the being said, its voice like the whisper of cosmic winds. The Keystone has chosen a new wielder. How unexpected. Zephyr stiffened beside Mia. Eclipser, he said, his tone a mixture of reverence and caution. I didn't expect to find you here. Eclipser's starlight eyes narrowed. Did you think I would abandon our people, Zephyr? Unlike some, I remained to pick up the pieces after your departure. Mia looked between Zephyr and Eclipser, sensing a deep history and unresolved tension. Who are you? She asked Eclipser, her curiosity overcoming her apprehension. The shadow being turned its gaze fully on Mia. I am the keeper of histories, young one. I have watched empires rise and fall across the millennia, and I knew Zephyr when he was but a fledgling prince, long before he became emperor. Zephyr's expression tightened. Eclipser, we don't have time for. Oh, but we do, Eclipser interrupted. If we are to face the Vex, if we are to trust in your leadership once more, then your young friend here deserves to know the truth. About you, about the fall of Aether, and about the choice that led us to this moment. Mia turned to Zephyr, seeing conflict play across his alien features. What is she talking about? Zephyr sighed, his regal bearing seeming to diminish slightly. It's a long story, Mia. One I'm not proud of. Show her, Eclipser said, extending a tendril of living shadow towards the Keystone. Let the artifact reveal the truth. Before Zephyr could object, Mia felt the Keystone pulse in her hands. The world around her shimmered and faded, replaced by visions of the past. She saw Aether in its prime, a gas giant of swirling colors, its skies filled with floating cities of crystal and light. She saw Zephyr, younger and full of idealism, ascending to the throne amidst celebrations that spanned 7 star systems. But then she witnessed the slow decay of the empire. Corruption crept in, resources grew scarce, and distant colonies began to rebel. Zephyr, once beloved, became increasingly isolated, relying more and more on the shape-shifting Vex to maintain control. Mia watched as Zephyr was presented with a terrible choice: use the cosmic keystone to open a portal to a dimension of untapped energy, potentially saving the Empire but risking cosmic catastrophe, or accept the fall of everything he had built. In the vision, Zephyr reached for the keystone, desperation in his eyes. But at the last moment he hesitated, and in that instant of indecision the Vex struck. Chaos erupted across the Empire, and Zephyr fled, taking the keystone with him. As the visions faded, Mia found herself back on the command ship, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Zephyr, seeing him now not just as a fallen emperor, but as a being who had faced an impossible choice and had been haunted by it ever since. You didn't use the keystone, Mia said softly. You could have saved your empire, but you chose not to risk the galaxy. Zephyr nodded, his silver eyes filled with ancient sorrow. And in my hesitation, I lost everything. The Vex, whom I had trusted too much, seized their chance. I spent centuries running, hiding, watching from the shadows as they grew in power. Eclipse's form rippled. And now the consequences of that choice have followed you to Earth. The Vex believe the keystone is the key to their galactic domination. Mia's mind raced, piecing together the full scope of the situation. That's why they're really here, isn't it? Not just for revenge on you, but for this. She held up the keystone, which pulsed gently in her grasp. Zephyr nodded grimly. If they acquire it, there will be nothing to stop them from reshaping reality itself. A heavy silence fell over the gathered aliens. The weight of history, of choices made and unmade, hung in the air like a tangible force. Finally, Mia spoke, her voice small but determined. So what do we do now? Eclipser turned her starlight gaze on the young human. Now, young wielder, we must decide the fate of not just Earth, but of the galaxy itself. And you, it seems, are at the center of it all. As alarms blared throughout the ship, signaling a renewed Vex assault, Mia realized that the true battle, not just against the Vex, but against the echoes of the past, was only beginning. With the keystone in her hands and the weight of history on her shoulders, she knew that her next choice could reshape the cosmos itself. The command ship shuddered under the renewed Vex assault, jolting Mia back to the urgency of their situation. Alarms blared as holographic displays flickered to life, showing the Vex fleet advancing on Earth with terrifying speed. "We're out of time," Zephyr said, his voice tight with tension. "The Vex are making their final push." Mia clutched the cosmic keystone, feeling its power surge in response to her rising emotions. "What can we do? There has to be a way to stop them." Eclipse's shadowy form rippled, her starlight eyes fixed on Mia. "The keystone has chosen you, young one. Its power, combined with your human intuition, may be our only hope." Zephyr nodded gravely. "Eclipse is right. Mia, you've wielded the keystone in ways I never could. If anyone can turn the tide of this battle, it's you." Mia felt the weight of their expectations, of the entire galaxy's fate, pressing down on her. She was just a girl from a small town on Earth, thrust into a cosmic conflict beyond her wildest imagination. And yet, as she looked at the keystone pulsing in her hands, she felt a strange sense of certainty. I think I know what to do," Mia said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "But I'll need your help, all of you." As Mia outlined her plan, the gathered aliens listened with a mixture of awe and skepticism. It was audacious, potentially catastrophic if it went wrong, but it just might work. Zephyr placed a hand on Mia's shoulder, his silver eyes shining with pride. "It's a risk, but one worth taking. You have my full support, Mia." Eclipse nodded, tendrils of shadow swirling around her. "I will lend my power to yours, young wielder. May the wisdom of ages guide your hand." With the plan in motion, the command ship burst into activity. Orders were relayed across the Allied fleet, positioning them for Mia's desperate gambit. As they made final preparations, Mia took a moment to look out at Earth, hanging vulnerable in the void. She thought of her home, her family, all the ordinary days that now seemed so precious. "I won't let you down," she whispered to her distant world. The Vex fleet loomed ever closer, their weapons charging for a devastating strike against Earth. At Mia's signal, Zephyr's voice rang out across all Allied channels. "All ships engage." What followed was a battle unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Allied fleet darted and weaved in complex patterns, herding the Vex ships into position. Mia stood at the heart of it all, the cosmic keystone blazing in her hands as she focused all her will on the space around the Vex armada. With a surge of power that made reality itself tremble, Mia activated the keystone. Massive wormholes began to open around the Vex fleet, not to distant parts of the galaxy, but to the very edge of a black hole Mia had sensed in her cosmic awareness. The Vex ships, caught in the gravitational pull of the wormholes, began to be dragged towards oblivion. They fought against the pull, their weapons firing wildly, but the combined power of the keystone and Mia's indomitable will proved too strong. As the Vex fleet was slowly drawn into the wormholes, Mia felt the strain of maintaining such vast cosmic forces, her vision blurred, her body trembling with the effort. "I can't hold it much longer," she gasped. Zephyr and Eclipse moved to her side, lending their own considerable powers to hers. The Allied fleet formed a protective barrier around them, fending off the last desperate attacks of the Vex. With a final, monumental effort, Mia closed the wormholes. The vacuum of space rushed in to fill the void left by the Vex fleet, now trapped near the event horizon of a distant black hole. As the last echoes of battle faded, a stunned silence fell over the Allied fleet. Then gradually, cheers and cries of triumph erupted across every ship. Earth was safe. The Vex threat had been neutralized. Mia slumped to the floor, exhausted but elated. Zephyr knelt beside her, his expression one of wonder and deep respect. "You did it, Mia. You saved not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy." Eclipse's form shimmered with what might have been approval. The keystone chose wisely. You have rewritten the stars themselves, young one. As the Allied fleet began the process of standing down, Mia's thoughts turned to home. What happens now? She asked, looking between Zephyr and Eclipsa. Zephyr's expression turned thoughtful. Now we have a chance to rebuild, not just my fallen empire, but something new. A galactic alliance, perhaps with Earth as a key member. Eclipsa nodded. The galaxy stands at a crossroads. The choices made in the coming days will shape the cosmos for millennia to come. Mia looked down at the cosmic keystone, still pulsing softly in her hands. She realized that her adventure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. As the command ship turned back towards Earth, Mia stood at the viewport, watching her home planet grow larger. She thought of the ordinary life she had left behind just days ago, and the extraordinary future that now stretched out before her. She was no longer just Mia, the girl from a small town with big dreams. She was Mia, the Keystone wielder, bridge between Earth and the stars, shaper of cosmic destinies. As Earth filled the viewport, Mia smiled. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders awaited in the vast expanse of the galaxy, she was ready to face them. With the cosmic keystone as her guide, Zephyr and her new allies by her side, and the indomitable spirit of humanity in her heart, Mia knew that this was only the beginning of her cosmic journey. The stars beckoned, and Mia, once an ordinary girl who had befriended a lonely alien in a cafe, was ready to answer their call.